Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Hey, Sean, welcome to NFL week number 11. Just you and me tonight, kid.
Yeah, you didn't get enough time to exit out Jared like you did that other time when he wasn't on.
Yeah, no, Jared's not here today. You remember those old commercials where the lady had like the alert thing? I've fallen and I can't get up. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, Jared forgot his thing because he got knocked on his ass last week, but I can't say much. I got knocked on mine as well. It was a tough week for week 11 for everybody except Sean. Sean was the only one in the plus mark. So we're going to have to do what we can to get it back in order in week double ones, Sean.
Yeah, I mean, like we talk about all the time, you're not just going to go in and knock the NFL out and run away with a ton of money. They'll get back at you too. So hopefully Jared turns it around. He couldn't carry it all. He couldn't carry it all year. So he was due for a rough week. But
yeah, remember we were talking about the Beavis and Butthead getting kicked. Was that last week?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Yes, I think we indeed got kicked in. Well, Jared got really kicked in the Jimmy. So last week he was 0 for. So he was 0 for the week, and he put 100 out. So minus 800. Ooh, that was a tough week, right?
Yeah, we both warned him about the Cowboys, and he went 3 units with that Cowboys in Green Bay and that primetime kind of lone game. Never works out very well.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about that game being maybe the sucker's bet of the week, right? And it just turned out to be that way. You managed to take a profit because you put 2 bills on the Dolphins, and they came through for you. So up $80.95. Me, I just couldn't get out of my own way last week. The Browns suck. The Saints suck. The Chargers and the 49ers, the Chargers, the same old problems. Drive to the end of the field and can't score. And then the Eagles, 14 points in the first quarter. I made the tragic internal mistake, Sean, of doing what? Counting my chickens before the –
Yeah.
It's funny because I could have only got one thing wrong out of the 4 possibilities with the game that, who's going to win, the total, and the 2 teams' totals. And the only one I could have possibly got wrong was the Eagles over 27.5. I had a 75% chance of picking a winner, and guess which one I picked?
You picked the wrong one. And is that not another, what do you always say, gambler's fault or whatever? No matter how many times you can do that, how do we always pick the wrong one, or so it seems?
What kills me, Sean, is anytime I deviate from the plan, I get the Beavis and Butthead kick every single time. And yet, what do?
You still go away from it. And, that's that old reminder of that kick is a reminder of stick to the plan.
It is indeed. It is the old what are you thinking kick to the it's the Animal House. I don't know if you ever saw that movie Animal House where they're pledging and the guy's getting hit with the paddle and he's saying, "Thank you, sir. May I have another?" So, I'm just standing there exposed. Here comes the right foot. "Thank you, sir. May I have another?" And then you are reminded that you really don't want another, which is kind of where we are. All right. So week number 11, Sean. Well, before we go on to week number 11, let's just look at the damage from last week. All right. So Jared lost 800. I lost 309. Sean making $80.95. Jared still got $607 for the year. Sean moves into second place up 187.90. I'm about 9 behind Sean. We're still up as a group for $973.67. Hopefully you faded us last week, because if you did, you would have made $1,028 based upon the unit.
It would have been old. We were saying you take Jared's 5 picks or whatever the week before, and you would make, what was it, like almost $500 on a $10 bet. So hopefully people were watching and going, yeah, there's no way you could keep it that hot and fade every one of his, and you would have been even richer than $500.
You probably would be retired. You wouldn't even need to win that $1 billion lottery if you did that with faded all his picks. Damn. I think between the two of us, we had one winner out of 13. That's got to be next to impossible. So we're going to try to redo that this week. So that's the good thing I think one of the things about us, Sean, that makes us different. We don't hide. We put the good, the bad, the ugly, and unfortunately there's a big scab there, and we're not going to pick it any longer. All right, let's go on to week number 11. Not a whole lot going on here in terms of us picking with the game, with the totals. Let's start with you, Sean. You like the Bill, just the plain Bill. I forgot to put the S there. The Bills, -7.5. Tell us why.
Well, this actually helps. I know the line went actually down a point, but it actually helps that it's in Detroit, because if they were going to play in the snow, that's going to actually play right in the Browns' hand. They want to play the run the ball, control the. So now in Detroit, in the faster, they're inside. It's going to be faster surface. Buffalo's looking for big time redemption. Cleveland's ready to wrap it up. They're not going anywhere this year. They're a couple wins from saying, okay, we're just going to be spoilers, but they're not there yet. I think Buffalo just rolls in this game. I don't think Cleveland can keep up offensively. And once Buffalo gets ahead, a couple touchdowns, it's going to be hard for Cleveland to stick to that run game. So I don't usually like giving up more than a touchdown, but in this game, I feel like, and look what I took the Dolphins versus the Browns last week in kind of a similar situation, and the Dolphins rolled. I expect kind of similar here.
Yeah, I think moving indoors certainly makes a difference in the game. Otherwise, they're going to be playing with snow taller than some of the players.
Yeah, and
can you imagine 5 feet of snow? What the hell is that?
I feel bad because the first I heard about the snow is some people on Twitter were like, "Oh, I'm grabbing the under 43 because there's all this snow." Yada. Now they grabbed, who knows how much money they put on this under 43. Now it's inside, and the over under is up to like 48, 49.
They probably canceled their bets by now, though. It's not unless you're in Vegas. You can cancel your bets.
Yeah, but the cash out changes.
Yeah,
so now the bet over unders. Yeah,
so they didn't get all your money.
Yeah. So you should have known. And they're not going to play in 3 feet of snow. It sounds great, but they're not going to play in 3 feet of snow. All the help they would need to make sure they had a stadium to play in with that. No.
Well, I do think going inside does advantage the Bills there. I think that is a plus for them. I do expect that they'll rebound off. I mean, just everything that could possibly go wrong for them went wrong last week. And this week, I don't know that you can have that list of all those errors that go bang, 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 bang to screw them up. So I think the Bills do rebound. The only thing that worries me a little bit, Sean, is the Bills are up by 10. The Browns have the ball late. They kick the field goal because they can't score the touchdown. Then they're down 7. They kick the onside kick, and then the Bills recover. Game over. So that's the only thing that concerns me there. But I can see the Bills winning this game by 10 or more points pretty easily.
Yeah, I'm obviously hoping for same as what Miami did to Cleveland, and I could see it being pretty similar.
So the only other games that we have on the list here are, for me, for against the line. I like the Bears getting 3 points. I know, Sean, that you have them as the money line as well. My concern here is just looking at the way the Bears play coming off that game. Their offense has been scoring a lot of points. Atlanta, we have memes of Marcus Mariota on his back like a drunk trying to throw a ball, right? And yet the Bears are only getting 3 points. This game and there's another one that kind of smells to me too. We'll get to that one later. It's another pick that you have. This game kind of smells funky to me. I feel like the Bears should be the favorite here. At worst, a pick 'em, and yet they're getting 3. Is this that sucker's bet?
I don't think so, just because it still is the Bears. So unless if you're following really closely and you're betting a lot of money, you should be. You're still seeing Bears-Falcons. The Falcons were a covering machine earlier this year. I jumped on them a couple weeks, and they quickly became the ones that aren't covered.
The word got out, right, in the locker room. Sean's on us.
Yeah, so they're still thinking that way. You still got Bears defense, not as good. You still got but Justin Fields is playing out of his mind. And that's why I went money line too. I mean, now again, you got indoors, you got the quicker surface. That's going to help Justin Fields and the Bears. I mean, that's, Fields is around.
But they are an outdoor team, and there's a lot.
But
there's a lot of stats. Outdoor teams in the winter going to domes, not performing as well as people would think they might perform.
But it's going to help Fields running. I mean, if he gets loose, I mean, he's, Atlanta's defense is not good. And then you got Mariota finally struggling and throwing horrible passes. Plus, their run attack has not been as great as it was to start off the year. Mm-hmm. So, and then my other bet with the over 23.5, and I put 2 units on that. Can you see any real scenario that Atlanta stops the Bears the way those offense is going? 23.5. I mean, that's 3 touchdowns and a field goal. It seems that I almost want to go more than 2, but I'm not going to get cocky. So
the only thing that concerns me there is that Justin Fields is still susceptible to some turnovers in there. And it's one of those things for the Bears that if they get a long sustained drive and they come away with a 0, that could hurt you, I feel like. But outside of that, I do expect the game to be a little on the higher scoring end because the Bears traditionally known for defense. This new coaching crew looks like they're more about points than they are stopping points. It is the NFL in 2022, right? Score. Don't worry about being scored on, at least not as much. I kind of agree with you. Also the minus 120 from Vegas kind of tells you that they expect the game to go, the Bears to score more than 23.5 too. So yeah, I would think they probably do. Again, my only concern would be points left on the field. Turnovers, missed field goals, that kind of thing, which happens to me a lot when I play totals.
Yeah, but it's just 23.5. Yeah, most NFL teams at this point, you can get 24 points by accident. So,
well, I think the average team is scoring 21.9 is what the average team is. So that's a little over the average for the year for every team.
Yeah, and there's also what you say, that recession to the means, or however you say it. The Bears' offense has really, really been on fire, so there could be that too. But it just looked too good to be true. I'm going to just bump it up to 2 units, and I didn't want to get any more cocky than that. Plus, I got the Bears to win it, and to win it, they're going to definitely have to score more than 23.5. If I lose
you go 0-2 on those, right?
Yeah.
So the next one is the Bengals and the Steelers. For me, I have the Bengals on the road. I know home dogs don't bet against them, but I don't think Jamar Chase is coming back yet. But I just think that even in last week's win, I don't think the Steelers were particularly good. They couldn't really run the ball. A couple of nice pass plays against a really struggling, probably one of the worst teams in the NFL overall this year, the New Orleans Saints. And I had the Saints, of course. But the Bengals, I think, are a much better team than the New Orleans Saints. They're still dynamic on offense. They got a decent defense. So I'm going to take the Bengals and lay to 3.5. I wish it were 3 because, again, I worry about that hook. I can see another one of these 17 to 20 games and me sitting on the wrong side of the 0.5.
Well, this game, that's that wild week 1 game where it went to overtime. Everybody was missing field goals. That was Mitchell Trubisky. This concerns me a little bit, giving up more than a field goal with the Bengals, just because I do feel like the quarterback for Pittsburgh, the rookie, is coming around a little bit. So
yeah, he's still kind of inaccurate. Still misses a lot of passes. So he'll throw some interceptions in that game.
And Cincinnati, week to week now, you get the signs of, hey, Bengals are looking more like that Super Bowl team, and then you get that team that doesn't even look like a playoff team.
Stinker in there, yeah. Well, the one thing I would say about last week with the Steelers is that they had 2 weeks to prepare for that game. So you would expect Kenny Pickett to have a little bit better understanding of what the New Orleans defense is trying to do. This week, he only has 1 week to prepare. So I think that extra week probably assisted him a little bit.
Yeah, and since even though this is the second time playing Pittsburgh, they played Trubisky that first time, so this will be their first time facing. So I don't know who has the advantage there. It will be Pickett's first time facing the Bengals D, and Bengals D first time facing Pickett. So kind of draw there.
Could be indeed a draw. All right, so we're going to go on to totals now, and this is where Jared's going to try to come back to life. He's going to try to get up off his back because, like the commercial, Jared got knocked down and he can't get up last week. Well, let's see if he can get to his feet. Starting off, the Eagles and the Colts. Jared just playing almost all totals this week. He's going to go with the Eagles and the Colts going over 45 points. I think Matt Ryan coming in. The Eagles kind of disappointing a little bit last week. Matt Ryan probably makes that offense a little bit better. They say Jonathan Taylor is as healthy as he's been in the entire season. So maybe the Colts can score. The Eagles defense doesn't seem to be all that good. Maybe Nick Suh makes a big difference for the run game, though I don't think he'll play a lot of plays.
Yeah.
But I would expect the 45 is probably about right.
Yeah, I'm concerned about this Eagles offense a little bit. They show glimpses again, but they're not like they were in the beginning of the year. And that second half always seems to get Philly, where they're not scoring as many points.
Well, they
So I'd
start
be a little
fast, that's for sure.
Yeah, they come out, start fast, but even when they were winning earlier this year, the second half, they really slowed down, and you didn't know if that was more like them just sitting on it, which I figured it wasn't because that's not their style. So I don't know if it's adjustments or what, but they're not making them, or the defense is really making them. The Colts definitely looked a lot better with Matt Ryan. Maybe this is that whole thing, Matt Ryan gets benched and he comes back and plays a little bit better. How many times do we see that when they get that second chance again? 45, it's definitely doable.
Well, they said that his arm, he was lacking arm strength, and that the last couple of weeks he said his arm felt stronger and they were seeing more zip in practice, and that's why he got the start over Sam Ehlinger. Plus, they only scored like 3 points a game.
And I saw this on TV and I had no idea when Matt Ryan's playing and Paris Campbell's in the lineup, the receiver. He's like the second best fantasy wide receiver. So for all those who play fantasy football, look for Paris Campbell too. I had no idea.
They threw a lot of short passes to him. Yeah.
I had no idea about that
last week too. Yeah. All right, Lions and the Giants. Jared going off of his home team there. He does like the over 44.5. This is a tale of two teams, right? Which one's going to show up? The Giants' offense is really not that good. Doesn't score a lot of points. Detroit's defense is not that good. Their offense can be hot and cold. So the question is, for his total to go over, what's going to show up? What's going to be the deciding factor? Is it going to be the Giants stifling Detroit's offense, or is it going to be both teams are scoring and neither team is stopping either one, making this game wide open? Though I can't imagine that's going to be all that warm in New York this week. And I got to think there'll be some residuals from that snowstorm out there. So what do you think? I think this one has a chance to go under.
Yeah, I would lean over, but then I did think about what you're saying about the weather. It's going to be colder. Who knows what else? The other thing, he really needs Barkley to go off, because I think the Giants' best way of moving the ball always is Barkley, and especially against that Lions defense.
Well, they don't have any wide receivers. I mean, who's their wide receiver?
Yeah, because Calladay came back last week. They had no catches, had a few drops. I mean, I'm surprised he's even on the field at this point.
Who called that one?
Yeah. Actually, my play that I didn't send in, that was my last should I or shouldn't I, would have been the Lions money line. So I kind of agree with Jared on there. I just think if the Lions can get if their Lions offense does show up and they at least stop Barkley enough that he, 100 yards but no TDs or whatever, that they can really win this game. But that line's tricky too, because I would believe most people are going to be on the Giants. They're only giving up 3, and they are an 8-2 team. So that could be a fishy line too, which kind of leads you towards the direction of the line.
I feel like the Giants, when you look at the matchups, the best unit on the field is going to be the Giants defense.
Yes.
And I also, the Lions' ability to score is going to come down to if their running game works or not. If the running game is working, if Williams and Swift can combine to be effective on the ground, then that'll open up their passing game. But if they can't run, I think it'll be difficult for Goff to really get a whole lot going. Those indoor teams in the cold, they don't always play so well. I think the Giants win this game, to be honest with you. I think they're the better of the two teams, and I would be afraid to take the Lions on the road. But he's put 2 units on it. I think the Giants win this game. I don't know about the total.
Oh, and the other thing I'm going to say, and sometimes I put thought into this and sometimes I don't, but Giants have a huge game Thursday against Dallas.
On the road,
they could also get caught looking ahead, because Thursday, if they win this game, Thursday is going to be the biggest game in Giants in how many years? I mean, we're talking a lot of years that's going to be
But they don't have to worry about that game. Giants always lose to the Cowboys. That's just how it goes.
So there could be that too, looking ahead. And the Lions wouldn't be a team, no matter their record, to take lightly, because when they put it together offensively, they can be hard to deal with.
So the Jets and the Patriots is next in Jared's line. Another over. Just looks like he looked for every game he thought might go over this week. And the Jets and the Patriots over 37.5 in New England. Now there's that total under 40, Sean. I have the game going over 2, but not by enough for me to make the play here. But you know my rule. If the game is under 40, you can almost always take it. The caveat to that, I think, was Green Bay once or a couple times in San Francisco. I don't know that the Jets are on that list. So I think there's a pretty good chance this game probably goes over 37.5.
The only concern I would have, So you can look at it usually how you look at it here. Zach Wilson really struggles against Bill Belichick in New England. So he does turn the ball over, which is good for points. But how many points are the Jets going to score if he really goes and stumbles again with that? The Jets may really try to pound this a little bit more and then open up play action. So they could really try to slow the game down too. And New England's no offensive juggernaut. So I wasn't going either way on this, and I wasn't touching who's going to win.
I mean, if there's any play at 37.5, the only play, in my opinion, is over because that's just too low of a total in the NFL.
Yeah, depending on the teams. And I will say, as an experience of playing games like this on under and going, these offenses both stink. The only thing with it is you will sweat at the end because it's harder to get much lower than that.
It is pretty much hard. And, it's and also like if they have a 21-point first half or something like that, then you're doomed. All right, the Commanders. Oh, so in that game, he also has the Jets as the money line on one unit. Yeah, I don't see that happening.
I hope it happens. I can look.
I don't see it happening.
My issue is, and there's not enough.
Is it New England coming off a bye, right? I think they're coming off a bye, and I think Belichick off a bye is like almost unbeatable. So maybe I'm just going to give the Jets a W here, but I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, the Jets are coming off a bye too, but that doesn't really mean anything. Not enough with the head coaches and stuff to say that. I don't think there's enough value to take the Jets because of the fact that the 3 games that I believe it's 3 games that Zach Wilson's played against Belichick have all been horrible. So there's not enough. Yeah, there's not enough. Plus 148 is not enough for me to take the Jets. And actually, I thought the 3.5 point line was kind of low too, even though I do.
Well, I think both of those teams can be limited on offense, so I can understand why it'd be 3.5, right?
Yeah, but I mean the Patriots took care of them pretty good just 2-3 weeks ago because of Zach Wilson playing horrible. So hopefully he turns that around.
Commanders and the Texans over 40.5. Well, I can see this game going both ways. I can see a 9-6 game, and I can see a 24-27 game. So I would completely stay away from that one. 2 completely unpredictable teams from one week to the next. You know you're going to get Pierce running the ball. Tyler Heineke's not really turning it over. He wants to keep that starting job when Wanke comes back. I think he will because what are they 3-1 with him in there?
Wentz. And actually, Wentz is off the list. I don't know if he'll be back up this week or what, but he is available. So they stuck with Heineke, which I'm glad to see because this team plays so much better with Heineke, and he deserves. Now, it's not always those stats because if you look at the stats last week, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, just average numbers. But you could see how much that team played for him.
Yeah, so that's a game I just can't even think about playing. So Cowboys and the Vikings, over 48 points. On paper, this game looks like it should be a high-scoring game. So I think the one reason I think it's probably not going to go over, and Micah Parsons was talking about this in the papers, is that the Cowboys were really struggling to stop the run because players get out of position. And I can see the Vikings with Dalvin Cook and what's his name, Mathiasen or something like that.
Yeah.
Those 2 guys, I can see them trying to pound the rock on the Cowboys. And if they're trying to pound the rock, the Cowboys offense is just not explosive. It's kind of dink and dunk down the field. The only really explosive player on the field is probably Pollard. You might see a little bit of Zeke back again this week. So I don't see the Cowboys being explosive. I see the Vikings trying to run the ball. So much like you talked about a little bit earlier, Sean, I think this is one of those games that if you're on 48, you're going to be sweating that they get over 48 at the end.
Yeah, if I would play either way here, I would play the under too. Just that total's a little high, and both of these teams can play the other way where they're playing more that low-scoring game. So I can't see both offenses putting it together, putting up, mid-20. I mean, I can see it. It's not one I'm willing to bet on. And the Cowboys really, Prescott comes back now, and they kind of get away from that running game. How many years in a row are we going to say Pollard needs to be featured a little bit? Give him 15 to 20 carries.
I think the issue is Dak, to be honest with you, because he's like guy's a leader, but we coined him inaccurate last year. Still a problem. He's got guys that are running open. He misses them. And it just seems to me in those clutch situations when it's 3rd and 4th late in the game against quality opponents, those passes are almost always incomplete. So I don't know. I think the Cowboys will leave points on the field, and I do think the Vikings will try to run. On the other side of this, though, you have the Vikings as the money. I know this is the other line to me that doesn't make sense for the week because the Vikings should be the favorite here.
So last week when Dallas lost like they did and Minnesota won they did, I always right away the games are ending Sunday. I'm looking at that next week's schedule and I go, realistically, right away, Dallas is going to beat Minnesota next week because just looking at it that way, Dallas had that heartbreaking loss. Minnesota had that unbelievable win. Now you go into Minnesota, it usually evens out there and Dallas would win. But looking at it, how I'm looking at it on paper and stuff like that, I just think Minnesota is the better team, and Minnesota should be able to do more things against Dallas than Dallas is going to be doing.
Vegas and their algorithms don't agree with you. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it's Vegas, and it's also you got to remember a lot more money comes in on Dallas than anybody else. So, the other thing there is Vegas may be trying to get people to bet Minnesota to even it out a little bit because they want it more 50-50 because people are probably loading up on Dallas.
Well, what I would say to you is this. Last week I said the Cowboys always struggle to beat Green Bay, right? And I said, I don't know. I think Green Bay could actually win this game as a Cowboys fan. Well, this week it's the exact opposite. The Cowboys always seem to beat the Vikings. So I don't know that they will this week, but Vegas certainly is telling you they think they're going to beat them. The Cowboys always find a way. I can remember going up to Minnesota, the old Metropolitan Stadium, when the Vikings were good and the Cowboys were good with Emmitt Smith, and Emmitt breaking off a really long run to I think it was in overtime to win that game. Somehow, some way, the Cowboys usually find a way to beat the Vikings. I think that'll be the same this week.
So, because I said that last week, this will probably be my Beavis and Butthead game to where I'm reminded, I spoke it right away last week that usually what happens is Dallas goes into Minnesota now and they're going to win. But plus value with the Vikings at home, thinking they're the better team, and just I couldn't pass it up. So I'll probably get kicked there, but I was willing to take the chance.
Yeah, I think it's a smart home team getting points. All right, the next game that you guys both agree on, the Chargers and the Chiefs. I have a play on this game too. If I'm going to go back to following my rules, if I'm plus, you guys both have the game going under 52. I know I've been on this Chargers team going over. But you guys are under. I will be on the over if I'm up at the end of the day on Sunday. I have this game as the highest scoring game. Vegas has this the highest scoring game too with the total at 52. I think these two teams are both going to score a lot of points. Kansas City is not particularly good at stopping people from scoring, although the Chargers are pretty good at stopping themselves from scoring. Mike Williams is scheduled to come back this week, so I think that opens up the passing game a little bit more. And then it does seem to me like the Chiefs, they can score no matter what. And I would think you're going to see, speaking of fantasy football, Kadarius Toney have a pretty good week because I think you're going to see a couple of those wide receivers out, and he might become the number one target for Mahomes for the rest of the year. So I'm going to play the over if I'm up. Otherwise, I'll be pulling for the under for you guys if I'm having another tough week.
Yeah, so Juju Smith is out officially, so there's that too. Both of those teams, Kansas City and the Chargers, they always have the total high because of who they are. They're both 4-5 against the over, so they're going under more than they are going over. I just see Sunday night, both of these teams are rated higher with their points than what they actually score. Chiefs are missing their number one wide receiver. Chargers, yeah, they might get some players back or Mike Williams back, but how many plays does he play? I just thought 52 was way too high. I didn't see both teams clicking it in and, going mid-20s.
Well, 4-5 means they're one away from being 500, both of them, which I think is about where these teams are over-unders. We'll see. 50, as I've said before, is that number. Once 40 on the downside, anything under 40, you take the over. Anything over 50, usually I lean the under. I do think you're going to see one of those Sunday night games where you're just like points galore. It's going to be like a pinball machine. Final game for us for this week is the Raiders and the Broncos. Interesting stat, Sean. If the Broncos had scored 19 points per game this year, they would have only 2 losses. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. Last year with Drew Lock, they were averaging 20 points per game. So if Drew Lock was quarterbacking this year, the Broncos might be in first place in the AFC West. It does look like perhaps they're starting to get their act back together again. But they say one of their problems is Russell Wilson keeps calling audibles for the Seattle offense, confusing his offense instead of using Broncos audibles.
Wow. Yeah. The under here, I will say, I would go under, but I know the last time these two teams played, the total was a little higher, and it was in Oakland or LA, and or Vegas. Vegas.
You're going to get it right eventually.
And I got blown out of the water because they did score. So now the total's even lower. So I stayed away from it.
Yeah, I have them scoring only about 34 points. This is going to be a 17-10 game, and that's how it's going to end because the Broncos can't get over 19, and I think the Raiders have given up for the season. They're going to shut down Devontae Adams, and then there's really not much left offensively there for the Raiders, except they'll try to run. I think the running back's a little dinged up too, though, this week as well. Jacobs. So you never know. I have the game going under, Sean. I'm due for a good week because I've been kind of middling along the last 3 weeks. So hopefully we can all rebound back after a pretty awful week last week. That wraps up our thoughts for Week 11 in the NFL. Sean, any final thoughts before we go out of here and
go
about our business?
Yeah, just hopefully we all turn it around. Should be another fun, exciting week. I didn't see, I had my normal probably about 5 plays, but those 5 plays were pretty much besides Detroit. Anything else I didn't really see or was excited about. So could be a difficult week across the board with all the games.
No, it's going to be a good week. We're going to be positive. We're going to speak it into.
No, we're going to be good. But I'm just saying I didn't see, this wasn't one I was unplugged. Yeah. And then Thursday we get right back into it with Thanksgiving. We'll just put those on social media. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we'll start having games on different days soon too. And, with Christmas coming up and stuff like that. So
Saturday games, yes. We'll make sure we post all that stuff on our social sites. You see them down there: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Horse race today. Twitter's still working. Although everyone said it was going to be shut down by then.
Nah, it's not going to be.
Nah, they.
What's crazy is the guy that paid $40 million or whatever it was for it is
44
billion. Yeah, $40 billion is literally joking about it on his Twitter, and people are still up in arms that it's going to close. Somebody wouldn't be laughing about it and joking about it if he paid that much and it was going to be closed.
Well, I mean, when you're worth as much as he is, 44 billion.
Well, still, you wouldn't be laughing about it and making jokes about it.
Well, there's some kind of rule that I heard about in business where it's something like 50% of your workforce accounts for it. So that's like what it worked out to be is like 10% of your workforce accounts for like almost all of your productivity. So like 90% of the people that work, it's I forget the whole thing, but 90% of the workforce is essentially dead weight in most companies. So I don't know how true that is or not. I mean, I am kind of my own company. So I guess 90% of me is dead weight. The other 10% does all the work. I'm not sure. But in any case, Twitter will still be here. We'll still be here tomorrow, too. I'm going to get together with Charles. We're going to go and do our best to find some winners at Del Mar, where the weather should be much better than it is in Buffalo. So we'll be looking for some horse racing winners over there. You make sure you check that out by subscribing here on YouTube if you like horse racing like we do. And then also, if you have a little insomnia tonight, Thomas and I went over some races in Australia at Ascot in Perth. Not Ascot in England, so you want to look at those, and Singapore. So the races started around 12:30 and will end about 4 o'clock in the morning Eastern. So if you're up all night because you had too many monsters, make sure you check that out. And then next Monday, we'll be back for more horse racing in the morning, and Sean and Jamie in the evening for Horse Space Center.
Yeah, and then our lineup next week is Monday we have trainer Kent Sweezy on. Tuesday we have jockey Maddie Rowland, and then Wednesday we have outrider and aspiring jockey Kylie Wellington. And then also one other note, good friend of the show, Trevor McCarthy, went down today, race 6 at Aqueduct, taking off on a stretcher, all that. I did see on post that he was at home resting, will have some time off. I believe he fractured his collarbone. So so he's all right, thankfully. He'll just have some time off and some recovery.
Well, Trevor and Katie, our thoughts are with you and in the family, so hopefully all goes well there and get Trevor back on the track ASAP. One other thing, Sean, Twitter yesterday. With the you think that was really Chad Brown's account?
There was two. The one that said at the real Chad Brown 1 was the correct one, and then there was a real Chad Brown 11, which was a fake one. So the one, which was 90% of those tweets, were the real Chad Brown account, which is now today conveniently deleted.
Well, what's interesting is they were talking about having a fight, right? Going in the ring and boxing it out for a minute. That ain't ever going to happen, Sean.
No,
I don't know if you, no offense, but there was a video of one of the potential combatants trying to jump rope, and I don't think that fight would happen.
No, anyway, it wasn't going to happen anyway. That's, one guy looking for attention and another guy that just couldn't hold it back anymore and answered, which he shouldn't do, but
we don't know what's going on there, but to both of them, they kept Twitter alive and fun last night. So keep it up, fellas. Do some more of that. But there's not going to be a fight. I don't care what anyone will say. So
no, and I knew I would wake up today and that account would be deleted too.
They're both deleted?
No, just Chad Brown's account was deleted. Yeah. I knew that was going to happen.
Probably a good idea for Mr. Brown.
So he deleted his. He deleted his account, and then there's an imposter now that went and created a real Chad Brown 1. So now people are going to think it's his account when it's not his account, because you got to look at those followers, and they're just starting to get followers. So unfortunately now, too, with Elon Musk with the Twitter, we have a lot of that where we really got to figure out, is this the real person?
It makes it more fun, right?
Yeah.
So we can do some handicapping on that next, right? Is this the real Chad Brown account or not? But yeah, that was kind of funny stuff to me. I was reading that. Good job, guys. Keep it up. Let's get some more Twitter wars in horse racing, because they actually got it to trend. So I give you both thumbs up for your. But I got to be honest, Chad Brown was a little bit funnier and I don't know if it was the real Chad Brown that was funnier or the fake Chad Brown, but whichever Chad Brown it was a little bit funnier of the two.
It was definitely the real Chad Brown, because the fake one was like, oh yeah, I do this or I do that, not really helping his case. So the real Chad Brown was definitely more funny,
funnier, a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Other than I'm just going to whoop your ass. There was some funny times. All right. In any case, folks, that wraps it up for today. Hopefully the NFL doesn't whip our ass this week, Sean, like it did last week. But we'll see if we can get back on the horse. If Jared can maybe go 4-3 this week, maybe we'll see him show up next week, right?
Yeah, if he takes another offer, don't expect to see him next Friday.
This is the real Charles Trent. Yes, indeed, buddy. How are you, Charles? Am I ready? Actually, I haven't done Del Mar yet. I'll do it in the morning. I'll get started on it tonight. I'll tidy it up for tomorrow. You and I got to bounce back, because we certainly didn't have the best day at Aqueduct on Friday. So we'll see if we can recover there, too, and get ourselves back in good graces, both at the track and on the gridiron. Sean, until we see you again Monday, we hope everybody has a fantastic weekend, whether you're betting at Singapore, Australia, NFL. Oh, speaking of which, college football, college basketball, or hockey, head on over to the Picks with the Professor. There's a link down below. A lot of college action across the board now. He does exceptionally well. You want to check that out. So no matter what it is you're doing this weekend, preparing for some big turkey dinner feast on Thanksgiving, we hope that no matter what it is, it can only end up in one place, Sean. And in the NFL, it has to be
the end zone.
Indeed. Have a fantastic week. Thanks for joining us once again.
Boys.